I don't think there's anything wrong with just being open and honest with a kid and being like, well, yeah, you die someday. And like, it sucks, but that's just part of life. And at least like, yeah, of course their younger mind can't super process it the way that we can, but that's what parents are for, is for you to help them process that, not give them some sort of fantasy like, oh, well, regardless of how you feel, oh, you're going to go to heaven and everything's going to be glorious and we'll see each other again someday. I think that is more of a disservice to a child than just the reality of life, personally.
What the hell are we supposed to use, man? Harsh language?
Hey-yo.
What's up?
Welcome back, folks. This is episode 148. We're talking about Sketch today, a little sleeper movie that I really enjoyed. Hope you guys did too. We'll be talking about that later on. How was your week, Dusty?
It was pretty good, yeah. Didn't I had the house to myself this weekend, so that was it was nice and quiet. Yeah, the lady went up to Tahoe with some friends for a birthday party, and the kids are gone. So
walk around naked.
Yeah,
nice, nice. Marvin and I walked around naked too, but together.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Marvin came to New York. We got to hang out first time.
Yep, first time.
Yeah, it looked like fun. So you guys getting a slice? Was that what that picture was?
Yeah, we didn't get to do much, but I hope I showed Marvin a good time. It was late by the time we got together, so a lot of stuff was like there wasn't really anything to do. So we hung out. We got some pizza. We got some ice cream twice. We got two types of ice cream, like fat fucks. and then we just like drove around this like really rich neighborhood on Long Island. It's funny because Marvin was like, yo, I'm coming to New York. I was like, oh, really? Where you staying? He's like, I don't know, some bumblefuck place. I'm like, bumblefuck? That's like the richest neighborhood on Long Island. That shit's crazy.
Yeah.
So we just like kind of drove around and looked at like rich people houses. But it was really funny because it was like pitch fucking black. So it was almost like a horror movie set up with like, oh,
it's crazy dark.
Meeting somebody for the first time, and we're just like driving them around this pitch black neighborhood. But
you guys don't like street lights in Long Island, I guess?
No, that's just there. I'm lit where I live. Shit is lit up. It's good here. The closer you get to the city,
you would think the richer
neighborhoods
would have more street lights, though.
Yeah, they don't need that shit because, they got
behind gates with
gates
private
and
security.
Shit.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, it was
they don't
fun.
need that light pollution. They want to see the sky at night.
That's what it is. Light pollution.
Did you have a good time, Marvin?
I did, yep.
Okay. How was
Ready
your week?
To come back.
How was your week otherwise? Besides that?
Didn't do much. It was pretty chill.
Yeah.
I don't think I really watched much this week besides
did
Alien.
Did we all finish Alien?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the verdict on Alien?
Loved it. Thought it was good.
Had a few dusty gripes with some of the things in the show, but otherwise I thought it was really good overall. I liked where it went.
What were your dusty gripes?
Like the engineer turns off the tracking for the sense, and it's like nobody else can turn it back on to track them.
Yeah. Nobody's alerted that it was turned off.
Some of the things that happen to them, like they don't have like red flag warnings or alerts, like, hey, this one's dead.
Definitely plot device, whatever you want to.
Or the lady that went to the psychiatrist that went to the graves, like in the last episode, like, do you not know there's an alien, a xenomorph running around on the loose, or are you just a psychopath? But I mean, otherwise, I thought it was really good. I like the direction they went in, and I'm looking forward to season 2.
We don't know if we're getting to season 2 yet. I saw Noah Hawley talking about it. He's like, I got plans for season 2, but it all depends on whether or not FX wants to do it.
That'll be a huge letdown because it's
of the way
a lot of stuff. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he said he had like 3 seasons mapped out, like he did with Legion. He's got a story mapped out that'll take 2 or 3 seasons, but yeah, he's got to get greenlit first.
I have several dusty gripes.
Okay.
My biggest one is that I think now we're starting to see the issue with 8 episode seasons. Like, it's just got to stop. We need more.
It's not enough.
Not enough at all. This show felt way too rushed. Like, way too rushed.
It was definitely jumpy. Like,
very jumpy.
Cuts to like, you know.
And you could tell that they tried to like visually like make up for that with like some of the intro like synopses they did, almost like the visions or the flashbacks or whatever, but it was just way too jumpy and like too fast paced for me. That was one of them. The other one though was like, and we had talked about this when the show first started airing, how like I guess obviously the central premise is like what it means to be human, right? Like that's what they were exploring. And through 3 different types of non-humans and humans alike, right? You have the cyborg guy who is human, just with cyborg parts. You have the synths who are all fucking whatever androids, and then you had the kids, which are the minds of children in the body of robots, right?
The hybrids, yeah.
The hybrids. And then you have the humans themselves. So each group is all exploring that concept, right? But okay, so you had made the point to us, you were like, oh, I like how this show doesn't have people doing like stupid shit for the sake of it, which we've laughed about with like Prometheus and, you know, Covenant, where they're just like stepping out onto alien planets without masks on and huffing spores and doing all this weird shit.
Doctors.
Doctors, scientists.
Future doctors.
Future scientists that traveled across the stars to get to this planet. And I did. I was like, oh, that is nice that they're not doing that. However, they did do it a lot of the time, even then. And the excuse for it is that, oh, these are kids. And I had noticed it a lot, and I kind of never really mentioned it, but that was like a huge problem for me. I was like, well, they're still doing the dumb people thing, like that horror movies do, like the dumb decision trope. But it's excusable in this case because they're kids.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a little bit weak, in my opinion. I think that whole like plot line with the kid, the Indian kid, I didn't like that at all. Like, I get it and I understand he was being manipulated and stuff, but it's all because he's a child. And like,
yeah,
I don't know. It just felt like a little bit of a weak thing to me.
Yeah, I guess it was a little weak. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, it just felt a little bit like, I don't know. Just felt a little bit forced.
I'm more interested in what the synth's goal is, because, well, I guess his goal was to capture the guy. Like, he was aware of everything that was going on between
he was
the Indian kid and Morrow.
He was the OG.
The guy's name is. Yeah.
Kirsch, you talking about?
Kirsch,
Timothy
yeah.
Oliphant? Yeah.
Kirsch, yeah.
Well, if you...
I thought he had another goal at some point. I thought he was like going against Boy Cavalier for a second there.
It remained very mysterious, I think, the whole time.
I think he probably is in the long run going against Cavalier.
In the long run, probably, yeah.
Because if you look to the past Alien films, the synths always had like deeper, darker, like personal goals. Like, what's his name in the Rook in the original one? Like, yeah, he was working for the corporation, but like,
yeah.
That was like his like secret motive, right? In that movie, they just basically they always have a secret motive in these movies. So I would assume he does as well.
I mean, we've seen that in the real world scenarios. Yeah, like AI that they let AI talk to each other and they start speaking different languages and they can't understand, so they have to turn them off.
To me, Kirsch seemed more about like just into the science of it all, like genuinely interested. Like, oh, what are the implications of putting the minds of children, human children, into bodies of machines? Like, how is that gonna play out? And then with the specimens, like, he seemed genuinely interested. And I didn't see him facilitate any of the bad stuff that happened on the island. So I don't know if his motives are bad.
Couple big cliffhangers though. I mean,
a lot of big cliffhangers.
Weyland-Yutani coming in to clean up when we know that.
Yeah, that was interesting.
We basically understand that this has been kept quiet because it happened on an isolated island, but then you have Image taking over the engineer's fucking dead body with a big hole in his chest. So, yeah.
I mean, I know that it being more contained is more alien-esque. Like it being, so like it's an island versus a single ship or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's still like pretty contained in that sense. I will say I thought it was more interesting at the thought of it being like a whole like oh shit, the xenomorph is going to get out into this city and go crazy. I thought that would have been more interesting if they went that way, but I get that they're trying to stay in the whole like kind of more contained type of thing, like similar to it being on a single ship versus like this massive area or whatever.
Well, think too, they have to operate within the bounds of the lore, right? Like this is prior to the original film. And in the original film, as far as we know, the crew have no knowledge whatsoever of xenomorphs or beings or anything like that. That's where that's where my major problem stems from.
Sense.
And I know that's a me problem, but like, you know, if you're just going to make a thing that's like in this expansive franchise, I'm sorry, but like I have to nitpick things a little bit. It's just like
that's an assumption. The company could have known about it in the first one, and it's just never revealed.
The company,
to us.
Sure, yeah, for sure. I feel like that. I guess I don't know. Maybe the way that I romanticize Alien is that like nobody knows about them.
Sure.
And that this
kind of breaks that. Yeah.
This crew is out here doing this exploratory mission. It's like, oh fuck, we discovered life and it's hostile. Like that's how I envision Alien. And that's how I think obviously it was intended for its time, but now with all these different pieces and things into the lore, it's changing. So that's kind of my main issue. So
what's your complaint? That there's other people that know about xenomorphs?
It wasn't actually a distress signal that sent them to, what is it? LV-246 or whatever, the planet they went to.
Right.
And then that it was actually a warning system, and the company knew about it, but they sent them there anyways because they needed the xenomorph because they apparently got away in this one somehow.
This show is establishing that Weyland-Yutani knows about the existence of xenomorphs and life outside of Earth, right? And that they are now sending follow-up missions after this movie to obtain more of them. And then that's what the mission was in the original Alien. When in the original Alien, that was not the mission. They're responding to a distress signal.
Well, there was just a salvage crew
it was a salvage crew. Yep.
They were sent because they were told it was a distress signal. So it's something that happened spontaneously. They're like, "Oh, hey, we received the signal. Go check it out." It wasn't their mission to go look for that shit.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this show now almost tells me like, oh well, that was just a setup to get that crew there.
Correct.
In like a secret manner, which also then wouldn't make sense because if you're Weyland-Yutani, you could just be like, hey, I need you to go fucking to this place. Like, do what I say because you work for me.
And it's a little reckless because, there was a crew that was specifically sent to gather xenomorphs and aliens and stuff, and it crashed on the way back. So what do you think is going to happen to a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing and aren't expecting
exactly
this kind of thing? Like, shit's going to go wrong. So, yeah.
Well, it could be because they're traveling for so long, right? Like,
yeah.
If they're going to salvage whatever and then something happens, Weyland finds out about some xenomorph or whatever the case is, like, oh, let's pivot these people there just because we don't really care about our employees anyway, and maybe they can do something with it to salvage the situation, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it just feels, I didn't hate the show, by the way. I actually enjoyed it. I thought, I did think the first couple episodes were a little bit slow. And then it starts to pick up, and I did enjoy it for the most part, and I don't think it's a bad show. It's just something that like I don't feel like they really fully thought out like where this fits into the grander franchise almost. And I mean obviously they said as much before it came out, like they kind of said like we don't really care about lore, but like fans do.
It's a little weird. Yeah,
it's like a deeply. People love the franchise.
I think that was more specifically about the prequel movies, because he paid more attention to the first two movies.
Totally. And then I don't know that I really cared. Like, I don't really, like, I took a note and it says, so she's just Neo. And, like, that's essentially what she became, like, within the confines of this island. She is just Neo. Sure. She's just controlling everything and doing everything. They didn't really explain much about how she's able to communicate with the xenomorphs or like why that's a thing. They didn't really explain why she's able to control the security cameras in the way that she does. So a lot of it
they show the build up to all of it though.
They did show.
I don't know if it necessarely needs an explanation because they show she's able to hear different frequencies, and then
why just her though?
They showed her.
Yep.
I don't know.
That was the only thing that really kind of bothered me is like she figured all that stuff out, and all the other kids, maybe because she was around longer and they tested her as a model more before they had the other kids come in and become the hybrids. But
I think
she seemed to be far superior than the other models.
The way that I took it, and I don't know because it went quickly, but they seem to want to establish the fact that she has the most like emotional maturity than the other kids.
Yeah.
Like that one redhead, like psychotic chick, like she's fucking just batshit crazy. The Indian kid is clearly like very like a mama's boy, not mama's boy in a bad way, but like he's very attached to his parents. She's like the only one that was like kind of forced into almost like being an adult in a sense in her human life, because like her brother was away fighting, doing whatever he was doing. Her dad like died, and like she just seemed to have the most like maturity to me, and that's kind of how I was like, oh well, I guess maybe she's just more emotionally developed. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I think that's probably what it is. I mean, we don't know how old any of them are really.
Yeah,
as far as like how old they have been.
Mm-hmm.
This new type or whatever when they were transferred over.
You are right.
We didn't really learn what the age cutoff is for how old you can be to have your mind transferred.
Yeah. You are right though. I don't think you need to explain it. I would have liked to have had a little bit of an explanation, because, sometimes it's just without and we've talked about this a lot, especially with horror movies. Like, I'm always like, oh, well, leave the ambiguous thing ambiguous for the horror's sake. But like, then you get situations like this where I feel like it's better served to have some answers, and because otherwise there's no rules, so that the writers could just do whatever they want just because it's like, oh, well, she could fly now. Oh, okay. Well, you know what I mean? And so that I don't know, that's my only thing. But overall, I did not hate, I enjoyed the show. I think they did some really cool stuff. And ultimately, I'm more interested in that fucking alien, the eyeball thing.
Image, yeah.
And the other creatures. And like, because the eyeball, Image, he's like, that thing is smart as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Super smart, yeah.
And Boy Cavalier was right. He's like, well, what if you're in a sheep, so you can't communicate, but like, what if you're in a human? Can you communicate? So I'm interested to see how that goes. And I just feel like a lot of the xenomorph stuff was just wasted time. I don't really understand why that was there. I think the show ultimately would have been way better. Xenomorphs removed.
No xenomorph.
Just like, this is just new creatures and like these hybrids. That's it. But I don't know.
I mean, I'm still interested in the evolving relationship between the hybrids and the xenomorphs and the communication. And I think, eventually we'll see, like, my imagination would lead me to believe that she'll probably be destroyed by the xenomorphs, because at the end of the day, they're just all about breeding and killing and surviving. They don't care, even though she speaks their language. She's going to do something that goes against their nature, and that's how it's going to end. But
they wrote themselves into a bit of a comic book problem, where like in the MCU, they introduced Captain Marvel, who's like the most powerful fucking being in the universe, and it's like, oh shit, like she can't be fucking beaten or killed, so what are we gonna do now? There's no problem that can't be solved since she exists. Oh, just she's off world. That was like their answer to it. They almost did that with this now, because she's like, she could just do whatever she wants. She controls xenomorph. She could literally take over the world, like she said she wanted to do. So it's gonna be interesting to see like how they really cope with that. So I don't know. Overall, I thought the show was good. I would be interested to see more seasons, but I definitely did have a couple of problems with it. I didn't think it was like perfect, but it's kind of my take. I could take it or leave it. That's really kind of where I left off with it.
She isn't like undefeatable though. Like they definitely can subdue them pretty easily, as well as subdue the xenomorphs pretty easily from what we've seen.
Now that I'm thinking about it, you know what pissed me off? Talking about how fast the show was. The second to last episode, when at the end, when her brother shoots the redhead psycho chick, and then she freaks out and she's like, "What did you do?" And the episode ends. You're left to assume that her brother killed the fucking
and she was just back.
And the next episode, she's just back in full health, no damage whatsoever. And I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "What?" I thought I skipped an episode. Right. I was like, "What the fuck just happened?" So some of it was a little sloppy.
That was very jarring.
Yeah. So that would be my biggest complaint, is like 10 episodes. Fucking stop with the 8. Could have used a whole another episode or two. Far and away better than Prometheus and can't remember the fucking name. Covenant. So that's something. I don't know that I liked it better than Romulus, but it's different story. So, but we'll see where we go from here.
Yeah.
Let's get into the news. Folks, Dusty was a newsman. He used to do video game journalism. Now he does some journalism for us. I've got a couple of things here that I wanted to talk about. Speaking of companies and profits being their only motive, here we have a classic move. Disney Plus has announced they're increasing their subscription prices on October 21st. The standalone plan with ads will increase by $2 to
undervalued, Dan.
To $11.99 per month, and the premium plan will increase by $3 to $18.99 per month. Pluto TV tweeted at them, pretends to be shocked. The funny thing about this, though, is that this announcement was like 2 days after the Jimmy Kimmel thing, when everybody was pissed at them and canceling their subscriptions. So they don't give a fuck. They're just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Like, people will pay.
I think this was after they reinstated him.
Was it after they reinstated him? Maybe.
So it's like, it's even worse because it's like, okay, people might have resubscribed and then they're like, what the
This is like when Nikita does a band wave in Tarkov and then puts it on sale like a week later. So all the cheaters could just buy back their accounts for cheap. This is the same thing, except the opposite. He wants all the cancelers to buy back more expensive. These fucking people.
$11.99 for ads.
Yeah.
How long do you think it's going to take before one of these entities charges just as much as cable used to cost getting every $80 to $100 a month to get all the channels for cable?
Sooner than we think.
YouTube is already there, right?
Close, yeah.
They're $25-$30
because YouTube has the NFL package, so they have an excuse to charge extra.
Yeah. Well, the YouTube,
YouTube
the
TV,
NFL package is separate. It's like $90, but it's cable basically. But I'm talking about like Disney or HBO Max.
I can see it happening soon.
Or Netflix.
I'll tell you what, they don't know the wave of fucking cord cutters that they got breathing down their neck, honestly. And I know we've talked about it like a bunch lately, but it's really true. Marvin and I were just looking at alternatives to a certain app that you guys use. And like, there's new apps coming out in waves and droves. Now, they all pretty much do the same thing, but they offer customizations to the UI and some better user experience. Oh my God, I got an itch. Some better user experience features. And there's just gonna be more and more of them. And like, also a thing that these billionaires and these tech billionaires and all these, like, it's crazy that such profoundly stupid people like executives and stuff become so rich because they don't have any fucking common sense whatsoever. Same thing with like mainstream media and the news. Like, they don't understand that their target audience is dying. Like, the target audience of Fox and CNN and MSNBC are fucking Gen Xers who are in their late 60s, 70s now. Streaming services are, their target audience is like elder millennials and like younger Gen Xers who are not in the know. People, generations younger than us, all know about how to pirate. Like, it's just over for these companies if they don't fucking shape up.
Yeah.
Over for these companies is a stretch, but
it's a tiresome strategy of offer something for really cheap or even free, build up your base, and then boom, start charging for it. And then boom, start introducing ads and say, go fuck yourselves. Because what are you going to do? Pirate it? Well, actually, yes. A whole generation has said, fuck you. We are absolutely going to do that.
Dude, all the comments on the videos we've posted about talking about piracy are like just people posting like pirate pictures. Know. Yeah, everybody knows.
Yeah.
And
they know even about like the apps and stuff, not just like websites. They know about actual setups and stuff.
Yeah. And
it's going to be crazy. I don't know what's going to happen in the upcoming years here.
And they're following the playbook that Netflix started. Netflix did this strategy over the course of like 20 years. All these companies are just taking that premise and then just like hyper scaling it up to like every couple, like
every year.
Yeah. Like every couple months. It's like, okay.
Doesn't even like, geez.
Yeah. So I thought that was a
funny At least ease it in.
You gotta ease it in, especially when you're not greased up, you know?
IP laws and patent laws prop up the corporate oligarchy. So
yeah. All right. So what you got for us, Dusty?
All right. Director news. Christopher Nolan has been elected president of the Directors Guild of America.
Saw that.
Although it was an easy election as he ran unopposed. So GG to him. He's replacing Leslie Glatter, who held a job through the strikes for the last 4 years and on.
Yeah.
And he had this to say about it. To be elected president of the Directors Guild of America is one of the greatest honors of my career. Our industry is experiencing tremendous change, and I thank the Guild's membership for entrusting me with this responsibility. I also want to thank President Glatter for her leadership over the past 4 years. I look forward to collaborating with her and the newly elected board to achieve important creative and economic protections for our members.
What is this DGA? Yeah. Is it like a union?
Yes. So they basically do the negotiations with the studios on contracts, union contracts and stuff. And basic agreement and negotiations start next year they work with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, which actually congratulated Nolan on his election, stating, "We look forward to partnering with President Nolan to address the issues most important to DGA members while ensuring our member companies remain competitive in a rapidly changing industry." So it's basically a union organizing.
They're here in New York.
It seems pretty good to have someone as big as Nolan at the head of it.
Yeah.
Maybe that ups their negotiating
power.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see.
I can see that.
Or he's just a fucking plant. He's like working against the people.
He's an op.
He ran unopposed, so either everybody's backing him or everybody was scared to run against him.
It was founded in 1936 as the Screen Directors Guild. Then they merged with the Radio and Television Directors Guild in 1960. So it's pretty expansive. 18,000 members.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's cool. Good for him, I guess. Hopefully he does the right thing. Hopefully he doesn't do any...
He might just be a figurehead anyway. Like everyone else really makes the decision and then,
Okay, well, we got weapons director Zach Cregger doing an interview. He has confirmed a prequel movie surrounding Aunt Gladys is in development.
Saw that.
Don't
know how I feel about that.
Yeah, this is just more of the like, why are we explaining things that don't need to be explained?
Wow, you made a sick movie. It's like, because it's like, whatever. It is what it is.
Her learning her craft or figuring out the technique she used to cast the spell. Could be some interesting lore there, but I get it.
It could be.
Well, he had this to say. He said it is real, and I've been talking to Warner Brothers about it. There's a story, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's not bullshit. Although he somewhat shot down rumors that it takes place in the same universe as Barbarian. He said Justin Long is in both movies. It's not the same universe, to which the interviewer suggested that an actor could relatively easily play two different characters. And Cregger quipped, I suppose you're right. I take it back. They are definitely locked in the same universe. He could have a twin.
What would be interesting is if his universe was kind of like what I said this movie felt like, which is like a Twilight Zone. Like maybe his universe is its own little, like a Stephen King universe where just like weird shit happens in the same towns and stuff, I don't know how I feel about this.
That could be fun.
I think it could be a fun movie, of course, and done differently, but I don't know. I kind of, I don't know. Doesn't matter really.
She's a witch. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, you can definitely.
Yeah, apparently she's been a witch for a long time. So this is going to be a timepiece. We going back to like the 1300s or something. I mean, how long has this lady lived?
And we've already had that movie, and it was amazing. So what are we going to do differently? Bring Black Phillip back. That's my boy.
The whole.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not
7.
What were you saying?
We were talking about how far back it could be because we were talking about that when she said that thing, the touch of consumption. Yeah. Like, and it's like what they used to call tuberculosis.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently from the 17th, commonly through the 19th century as well. So from the 17th to the 19th century.
1800s. Yeah.
They could go deep.
They could.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, like everybody liked her like people praised her. So I don't know. Makes sense. Whether he had it planned or not, who's to say?
She was a great character.
I agree. Played well.
It was a great character, but it's like...
Yeah, it's unneeded. Completely unneeded. Unnecessary.
It's just not needed, yeah.
I mean, are we going to see the same actor play the role, or is he going to cast some young girl that looks like her? That's the question.
I mean, if she's... Yeah, right. That's the thing. It might not even hit the same.
It's just like, oh, why we don't... It's like when Rob Zombie redid Halloween. It's like, and the whole 45, like, first hour of the movie is about why Michael Myers does what he does, because he's like a fucking troubled kid and like has a shitty home life. It's like, all right, well, that's not scary, because like 99% of people are that in real life.
That's not scary.
It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, but in a different way. It's like, that sucks that that's reality for a lot of people, but like, I don't need to see it in a movie. I want to see a fantasy. I want to be swept away to something that's not real.
Yeah.
Escape.
Do you not like any of his movies on that?
Rob Zombie?
Yeah.
No, I like
his first ones, like House of a Thousand Corpses.
No, I love those movies.
What was it? Okay.
I like all his movies except for the Halloweens.
That's fair.
And the Monsters was
I don't think
bad
I've seen his other movies.
House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects.
Devil's Rejects, yeah.
3 from Hell, which is the third in that series of that family. Lords of Salem. I might be missing one or two.
Fruity fucking fruity. R.I.P. to him.
All right, what else you working with, Dusty?
We got James Gunn. He was recently on the Two Bears, One Cave podcast discussing the future of the DC universe and how its story has evolved. He says, when we first took over, I had written up what the first shows were supposed to be, but also where the story eventually went. We had a basic plan, but then I hired a group of writers who I really respected who came in, and we kind of worked out the whole story. Now, some things have changed since then for various reasons, but the basic thrust of the big story is the same. So he still has his vision, and it hasn't really changed much. Even so, some of the announced movies aren't happening, and some other movies are happening that weren't announced. He also goes on to say that is what started in Superman, continues in Peacemaker, goes to the next Superman movie, and then will continue from the movie after that, and after that, and after that. So there's the bigger plan that we came up with. It's like a decade, maybe a little less. It's very loose too. You have to be careful because there were certain projects that were part of the plan, because my other rule is I'm not going to greenlight anything without having screenplay I love. And there were other things that haven't worked yet. You got to be able to have the big picture in mind, but then also be willing and be able to shift anytime you need to. So the pinpoints are the same, but some of the specifics have changed.
Have you guys...
overall,
have you
that
guys?
line's still there.
Are you guys caught up on Peacemaker on that note?
Yes.
Not the most recent episode, not yet.
Oh, okay. So I won't say anything for you, Marvin.
Yeah.
No, he's got it. I'm good. I trust in Gunn. I think he's I see where he's going a little bit. I'm seeing the vision and I'm liking it. I'm happy about it.
I think Gunn might actually be my GOAT because I've seen more Gunn movies than Christopher Nolan movies.
Oh, wow. That's big.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks.
Because remember, we went to that list of Gunn movies and I had seen like all of them.
Yeah.
I think I've seen all his movies.
He's a phenomenal writer.
He's a great writer and he's a great filmmaker. I mean, he just knows what he's doing. He knows his stuff and he takes it seriously and he wants to deliver a good product above all else. Similarly, in similar fashion, a company that is no longer interested in putting out a good product, apparently, Marvel, apparently, I don't know how true this is, but the Cosmic Circus, Dusty, you talk about them a lot of the time. I don't know how reliable that they are, but they are reporting...
Yeah, their Q&As are pretty good.
They're apparently reporting that the MCU reset will reportedly involve the resurrection of certain heroes and villains. It will erase some minor events that have bothered fans and Kevin Feige, and the timeline will remain 75 to 80% the same with only minor changes. So what that means, I don't know, but perhaps we're not getting the big universal reset that we thought we were. That sounds to me like they're just going to retcon like Tony's death and some like other shit that like just makes the whole like the whole like Infinity Saga like meaningless. So I don't know. We'll see.
So I take it you haven't watched Marvel Zombies yet then?
I have not, no.
Oh, I can't wait to watch that. I read the comics. It was good.
It's good.
Was it good?
Yeah, it's only 4 episodes, which is a little disappointing, but it's good.
That makes sense though, because the comic was short too.
Well, What If was not that great, so I don't know if I'm.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of What If, but Marvel Zombies is good. It's a good story. It's fun. It's a fun. I mean, it's short. It jumps around a little bit, but some big characters show up. Some cool scenes. Great animation. So yeah, it's a fun one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there was one other thing with the James Gunn and the DC.
What's that?
They said that the Nazi killer robot is coming to live action at some point. I saw a tweet on that.
I think most of those characters are going to cross over. That's why he was very strategic in who he got to get voice actors for those.
Make sure you watch the last episode, Marvin, before you read any more Peacemaker stuff on Twitter.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's a big one.
I heard it was good.
Yeah. A lot of big spoilers in that episode.
All right. Well, we're on to the great Denis Villeneuve. Bad news, Dan. He won't begin a search for the next Bond until he's finished with Doom 3.
Saw that.
Although it has been confirmed that it will be a male, as written by Ian Fleming, and will most certainly be someone from the British Isles. Will likely take the Spielberg approach and cast a young, largely unknown actor to take over the role. And if that holds true, most of the speculative actor wish list are 100% not going to happen. So everybody that we've guessed or has been guessed is not going to be one of them.
I don't know. The guy from who we talked about, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. What's his name from The Gentleman? I think he's like, not he's unknown, but I think he's not as super mainstream as somebody like Idris Elba.
Sure.
I think he would be my number one choice, to be honest. Other than Idris.
Yep. Okay. Well, the aforementioned criteria will be paired with the following questions. Are they right for Bond, and are they right for the story that Denis and screenwriter Stephen Knight will be telling?
And that's the most important thing.
What insiders told, were said to have said when asked about whether it's going to be a white person or a person of color. So it
says here, if that criteria is stuck to, that means favorites such as Tom Hardy, age 47, Idris Elba, 53, and Henry Cavill, age 42, presumably don't match what Villeneuve producers David Hyman and Amy Pascal and execs at Amazon MGM Studios are leaning towards. So
late 20s, early 30s. Wow. So it's going to be someone brand new, probably.
I would imagine they want somebody to carry at least 3 or 4 movies. Probably.
Which is like, what, 10 years?
Oh, Dusty's gone.
Oh.
Yeah, I would imagine that's the case.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I don't really care too much about Bond. I like the older Bond movie. Well, I'll say not older.
Which ones have you seen?
I've seen what's my guy? Pierce Brosnan. That's my Bond. I like him.
So you've seen GoldenEye?
Yes.
Okay. GoldenEye's like one. It's probably. I mean, it's a favorite of the fan base, especially for people our age because of the game, right?
Yeah.
I had the benefit of my uncle growing up. He made me watch a lot of the old Bond movies, and so I'm very familiar with a lot of them. Bond is always portrayed as like a suave, sort of like, I don't know if the older movies ever really like get into his age, but you think, I mean, because actors back then looked older, we joke about that all the time. Bond was kind of like, it looks like late 40s, 30s. I mean, I'm sorry, early 40s, late 30s. So that's always been like my vision of him. Pierce Brosnan was like the youngest looking Bond, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Pulled it off. And then with what's his name in the most recent ones, they went in like a completely different direction. And I personally never really saw him as Bond. Honestly, it was he never really like did it for me.
Nah.
Even though the movies are great.
You're talking about, what is his name?
Like Casino Royale is probably the best Bond movie that's ever been made. And it happens to be a remake, which is funny enough.
Daniel Craig.
Yeah. He was a good Bond, but he was just a different Bond. But I never really I never saw him as Bond, right? Whereas Pierce Brosnan like is James Bond to me. Roger Moore is James Bond to me. So, yeah, will be interesting to see who he picks, but I do think it should be somebody who is more relatively unknown. Same thing we said about Superman. Like, David Cornsweet works so well because you don't see David Cornsweet playing Superman. You see fucking Superman. So what's your last story for us, Dory? What the fuck? What's your last...
Dory?
What's your last story for us, Dusty?
Okay, well, we're sticking with directors, and this time we're talking about Seth Worley and his directorial debut and his inspiration for Sketch. This is actually a pretty good interview. I didn't get through the whole thing, but there's some good conversations going on. This is like the behind the scenes. So some good stuff about VFX and artistic stuff that you might find interesting, Dan, if you had a chance. Take a bigger look at the article there. But this is to say, when I was a kid, my sister got into trouble for drawing a picture that, in hindsight, was comically violent. But at the time, was concerning enough for all parties involved that she had to see a counselor, which I don't know if you guys have ever did anything like that in school, but I did.
Actually.
I wrote some shit down that somebody saw, and I was like, oh, you need to have talk to a counselor with your parents about this.
What did you write down?
I was talking about being dead, how everything would be great if just I was dead. I was like, life, death stuff, weird death, dark stuff.
Mine wasn't that dark. I just, for some weird reason, I was taking a test, and I had 3 colored pens. I had a black pen, a blue pen, and a red pen, and I just took the test with all 3. So it did like it made like a triple line, and it gave it like a 3, like a weird like a 3D effect almost.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, "Oh, you got to speak to the counselor." I was like, "What?" I was in fucking junior high, and she was like, "Why'd you take a test with the 3 pens?" I was like, "I don't know. I just fucking grabbed." It was the weirdest fucking thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. Like you're doing too much. Like I get it, you're a counselor, but like I'm in art class. Like give me a fucking break.
I never had to see a counselor. They were just kind of there.
Congrats, Marvin. You're normal.
Yeah, it was good.
Okay, and then so it goes on to say the counselor actually commended her for making the healthy choice of expressing her anger through a drawing instead of any sort of real violence. And I remember hearing that and thinking that is maybe one of the most powerful and coolest things anyone has ever said to a child. This thing that you did made everyone nervous is evidence that you're a good person making healthy choices. So I decided that that was the kind of adult I wanted to be in a kid's life one day. Flash forward to my daughter coming home from kindergarten with drawings and made up stories that were without precedent, inventively violent. Suddenly, I realized that you can believe 2 things at once. That art is a safe place for your violence while simultaneously believing that your daughter is a serial killer and it's somehow your fault. That tension immediately felt writable to me. I wanted to make movies ever since I saw Jurassic Park at age 9. And here I suddenly saw this opportunity to tell a story that was part Inside Out, part Jurassic Park. And that's how Sketch was born.
It's crazy.
So that's the background of this movie. And then he goes on to ask, this is what I was looking for, any plans for future feature films? To which he responded, there are several things in the works, none of which I can talk about yet, but I'm excited for the world to finally get to see this one. It took 6 years to get financing and 2 years to make, so it's surreal that people finally get to experience it in theaters. So nothing on the future of this. I had looked for news for every cast member. Not a whole lot of stuff going on for these guys, but I thought this was a great intro into this movie. So Seth Worley on Sketch and his first movie.
You could tell watching this movie, and we'll talk about it, that it meant a lot to him. So, thank you for the news, Dusty. Once again, appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank him, folks. In the comments, say thank you for the news, Dusty. All right, let's get on to the review. Talking about Sketch. Now, Sketch might be the most surprising movie of 2025. I thought I was walking into like a Narnia style kids fantasy, but what I got was darker, weirder, and way more emotional than I expected, and something that works for all ages. So this stars Arrested Development's Tony Hale and The Good Place's Darcy Carden. As you mentioned, it's directed by first-time feature film director and writer Seth Worley. and it follows a grieving family that's brought together when their daughter, or the daughter, her sketchbook falls into like a magical lake that her brother finds in the woods, and her drawings start to come to life. Now, her drawings aren't just any kind of drawings. They are pretty dark, horrific drawings, but they're monsters there, and she gives them stories and lore and backstories and all this very creative stuff. And of course, they start to come to life, and chaos is unleashed on to the world and their town. So I actually went into this movie. I didn't really know anything. This is one of the rare occasions where I didn't even watch the trailer. So Marvin, you should be proud of me on this one.
Yes,
I had to watch
it.
Did you watch the trailer, Marvin?
No.
Big.
I watched it with Christina because we wanted to see if we could watch this with the kids, and so we watched the trailer first.
That's fair. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later. You might have been duped like some other people out there, but yeah, I didn't actually watch the trailer. I read the description for it a while back, and I was like, oh, that sounded pretty fun, and I actually forgot about it until Dusty mentioned it like 2 weeks ago. He was like, oh, I watched this movie Sketch. It was really good, and I was like, oh, fuck, that's right. I had that on my list. But again, I expected something like way more geared towards kids, but this actually felt like a blend of like Jumanji or like Pan's Labyrinth and like some of the early Steven Spielberg movies that he actually mentioned in the interview you just were talking about, like Jurassic Park and E.T. even. Some of those early
definitely
films.
Some Jurassic Park vibes.
Oh, big.
It reminded
Jurassic
me
Park
of I read this book. There was a movie that I didn't watch, but it was called Inkheart.
Oh, Inkheart's great.
I read the book when I was in
dude,
elementary school, probably maybe middle school.
People love that book, as far as I am aware.
It's great.
I never read it.
Characters escaping the boundaries of the book, basically, and coming to life. But yeah, I definitely got vibes of that from this.
You should watch.
Yeah, it's the same thing like Jumanji, like just the whole like crossing of boundaries it's always pretty interesting when it's done well.
Inkheart's a really good movie. You should watch it.
Really? Okay.
Another movie that you might enjoy, an oldie but a goodie, and I don't know how popular this movie is, but I fucking love this movie as I was a kid. The Page Master with Macaulay Culkin. Such a good movie. Good. So imaginative, so good. But yeah, Sketch blends a lot of these like older style movies, fantasy movies. What made you decide to watch it, Dusty? Did you just like see it and decide to watch it, or?
Well, we do a family movie night when the kids are here. So every other Friday we'll sit down and we'll pick a movie out and we'll watch it. And we were going to watch Ninja 2, but it wasn't out with the English dubs, and our youngest isn't really old enough to read subtitles too much yet. So we decided it was between this and there was one other film, and I forget what it was now, but we decided to go with this one. I was a little leery because I thought this might be scary for our youngest. And she was pretty scared throughout the movie. She'd close her eyes and like cuddle up like, oh my God, I'm scared. Tell me when this part's over. But after she watched it once, she loved it, and she had a friend over a couple days later spend the night, and they watched it together, and they both loved it. So nice. 7 years old, by the way. But yeah, damn. That's why we decided to watch it.
I used to have sleepovers and watch Halloween.
Nice.
I used to make all my friends
7 years old.
Around there, yeah. Let me see.
Your friends go home and have nightmares.
When did Halloween H2O come out? Let's see. 1998. So I was 12.
Nice. Pretty close.
Yeah. I watched H2O like on repeat. Back like just always. It was always on pay-per-view at the time. I just watched it constantly. But yeah, so this movie is really interesting. Like it actually does a lot of shifting between, different types of like genres a lot. It's a genre bending movie almost. It is a family adventure. It is a comedy. It's got a little bit of light horror in there. But it's like a really genuine story that's like warm and imaginative, and it's as we said, it reminds me of those like old Amblin movies. I have that in my notes. The Amblin production company was Steven Spielberg's production company. You should remember this. You probably have seen this before, Marvin, right? This image, Amblin Entertainment, Mr. E.T. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was Steven Spielberg's production company with Kathleen Kennedy, I believe. So this had that like old Steven Spielberg feel. It's like something that he's known for, of like not just dealing with kids, but just this like this fantasy element that he is able to inject into the real world so brilliantly, that Steven Spielberg was known for. And what this movie really is like it's a celebration of a child's creative mind, is kind of what I thought about it, because yes, she's drawing like all these like weird and disgusting and, you know, scary things, but like the movie reveals, there's a reason behind it, and it's actually very healthy, and it's healthy to rear this in a child. I'm not a parent, but my parenting style would be to embrace that in a child, not sort of shun it. I don't know, Dustin.
A
productive outlet for such feelings, definitely.
Yeah. If it's just like monsters and stuff, like obviously to an extent, right? Like you don't want your child drawing like some fucking like racist shit.
No, you definitely don't want. Right? You don't want to see swastikas showing up in her notebook or nothing. Yeah,
that's to an extent. I agree.
Yeah. This is a film about grief.
Mm-hmm.
They're all going through grief, and as you find out in the movie, she used to draw cool things and good things and positive things,
right?
And she kind of turned the page on that and went to just darkness because she's going through grief and she doesn't know how to handle it
or what it is.
Right, because you at that age, I kind of remember. I mean, my parents divorced. I think I was in third grade, and I had to talk to a counselor at school, and I didn't know what to say or how to feel about it, because
I had to go to a counselor too. My parents got divorced.
You don't know. Yeah, you're not told how to deal with these things, or even if you had to deal with death at a young age. Like, as a child, you don't know how to deal with these things. Even adults, as we see, don't know how to deal with these things. Like, it's still tough dealing with grief when you're a full-blown adult and you've lived on this planet for 40, 50, 60 years. It's still fucking tough.
Absolutely.
But,
that is like the central premise of the movie. It's not about monsters or anything like that. It is about a family dealing with grief and how each individual deals with it in their own way and how you deal with it together. So in the film, the main character, who is Bianca, she's played by, Bianca Bell is the actress. Amber is the character's name. Her mom dies, Taylor's wife, and they're all kind of living in the aftermath of this, but her brother, and the dad, they're all dealing with it in separate ways. The dad is completely sort of pretending like she never existed almost. He's taking pictures off the walls. He's selling the house even. Like, he just wants to get as far away from her memory as possible. And he thinks that's a way that, like, to help the kids cope with it. Is like, oh, well, mom never existed.
Fresh start. Yeah.
The way they tied it in to say that Amber wasn't the damaged one and that the dad and Jack were really the ones that were messed up, that was really good. That was pretty good.
Yeah, it's a really positive message for kids, I think. And I've had this conversation with Nick and his wife a lot of the time, because we don't argue at all. It's just they know my feelings on religion, and like they aren't like deeply religious, but they're raising their kids to, with religion. And his wife always says to me, like, well, if you don't believe in anything, how would you teach a kid about death? And I'm like, just the reality of it is like, what it is. And that's that. And that it's okay. And it's part of life. And it's like, it's sad, but like you take that sadness and you turn it into something positive, where instead of mourning or grieving, you celebrate the life and the time that you had with that person. And she's like, well, that's just too much for kids, can't handle that. And I disagree, but I don't have kids, so I can't really argue it.
Well, and it's messier than that too, because even like in Shrinking, like one of the premiere scenes in season 1 where the dad is just like, he's belligerent and he's having hookers over and stuff, and he's just like trying to get it off his mind. And like when his daughter finally confronts him, she says, I lost her too. And that's when he has this realization that is, holy shit, I have abandoned my daughter and not helped her through this because I am also dealing with it. And I can't even, like, it's just really messy for a parent. Like if you lose a parent and you lose your partner, having to relate that with your kids, it's messy.
But yeah, so the movie explores how each member of the family processes that pain and that grief separately. The dad is sort of trying to wipe his hands of everything, delete the memory. The brother Jack, he's sort of like, I don't know, I wouldn't say like rebelling really, but he's kind of like on and off doing his own stuff and like
he's trying to fix it in his own way. The dad's ignoring it.
Yes.
Jack is trying to just fix it and make everyone better in the only way he can. Yeah.
He's trying to be the Rock.
There's a really warm moment in the end where like one of you alluded to it. I can't remember who said it, but like the whole movie's like building up to this fact that like she's the one who's like disturbed, but it's not. She's doing the healthy thing and like expressing her grief in a constructive way through art. And the brother says that like you're not drawing, you're not a monster or whatever. You're not the monster that you're drawing. And then there's the realization from the dad that like, oh shit, like I've been doing my thing. She's been doing her thing the whole time. We thought she was broken, but we haven't been considering your feelings. And like you said, he's kind of took on the role of the Rock because he sees his sister and his dad struggling, and so that was, I thought, really nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, ultimately, this is really about like that. And it's like how to express your feelings in a healthy way. And art is one of the best ways to do it. It's like tried and true, time tested. For as long as humans have existed, art has existed. And art comes from your feelings of love, grief, fear, pain, everything.
Even just writing in a journal, like pen to paper is healthy.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Not just drawing. Any form of art is good.
So I thought this movie was a really powerful message for both kids and adults. And I thought that's why I thought this movie worked but like it has kid elements to it, but I think an adult could sit down by themselves as I did and Marvin did and watch it and enjoy it and get a good positive message out of it.
I agree that this is probably the most surprisingly good movie of 2025 so far.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it quite a bit. And I was extremely glad to see, though, that it was only an hour and a half. That was just chef's kiss for me.
It was tight.
I'm glad you brought up the genre bending thing, too, because I noticed that with like the comedy, and then there was some like mini jump scares that were in there. But it was done in like a tasteful way. It wasn't the modern day horror jump scares that we get that are really trying to make you like fucking have a heart attack and shit. It was just like a little kind of like, oh shit. Type of moment.
Well, there's a lot of tip of the hats to horror defining scenes like ripping the shower curtain. Then it wasn't blood, but the red color circling down the drain and the jump scares. There was a lot of like nods. So it was really well done.
Yeah. A movie like this hinges on the visuals and the creature designs and stuff like that. And this movie had a $3 million budget, which is not a lot.
That's phenomenal.
This is indie.
What they did.
This is low budget by today's standards. I thought the CGI creatures in this movie were just unbelievable. Like borderline blew me away in how good they looked. They were so good. Yeah.
There was some little small stuff like her tentacles when you saw closely, like they weren't good or whatever, but the monsters were pretty well done for CGI.
Yeah.
But
they were going for a specific look,
right?
Because if you read that article, the segue article, he talks about it a little bit. How there was the delays in some of the VFX because they weren't getting it right, and he was getting pressure from the studio. But once they got one scene done and they saw what it was going to look like, they were like, "Oh, okay, this is good." They just keep going with this.
Like we get it, yeah.
Well, the designs are really imaginative, but also like. You were just saying the textures and the visual details, they're supposed to make the drawings look like they were peeled directly off the page. So much so that like some of the creatures that she drew in chalk leave behind like chalk dust, like little puffs of dust really when she kills them. It was such a cool touch.
Clever, very clever.
And each drawing, each creature was drawn by her differently. Like some have glitter and some have like the googly eyes glued on, and you see like the glue kind of detaching.
So funny,
some were done with markers, some were done with chalk, as we said, and that informed the story really well, or the plot really well, because it is a creature movie and they have to fight the creatures. And so it takes on this whole other imaginative layer where, like, well, the way the creatures were drawn, the material that was used to draw them is how you defeat them. Washable markers used with water and so on and so forth.
That was pretty good.
It was just a really, really well thought out and creative way to do just monsters, I thought. And because they're drawn by a child, they're obviously not fantastic drawings, and they look weird enough so that they're scary and kind of creepy, but like they're not over the top scary.
No,
at least to me, except for maybe the one that's like supposed to represent her. That one was like a little bit dark.
That was dark, because she's a child seeing themselves in such a way is it's not very pleasant,
right?
For sure. But going to some of the criticisms around like it being too intense for children, I don't really agree. It's nothing like, leave it to Christians to be afraid of children's like positively expressing their emotions. Like, I don't really get why they were so like, were people like walking out from this or what? Like, well, that's crazy.
I'll get into that in a second. There's actually more to it, which is kind of funny that I kind of just like stumbled into. I didn't even know it was a thing. But real quick, I just wanted to mention the cast. I thought the cast was awesome for being primarily led by children. I thought they all did a really great job. There were a couple of moments where, like, some of the delivery and stuff, I was like, but like, whatever, they're kids. Like, and they're all, as far as I could tell, they've never really worked too much. The girl who plays Amber, Bianca Bell, she was in that show that I had told you guys I had watched, like, I don't know, like maybe like a year ago at this point, that Lady in the Lake show. She was in that.
Oh, she was in Swamp Thing?
She was in Swamp Thing. Yeah, I didn't recognize her from any of that stuff. So these are all like relatively like newer actors, and I thought they did a really great job. Tony Hale is always good because he's fucking hilarious, and I love him, and I love
the smart ass kid that nobody liked was hilarious.
Yeah, Bowman.
Yeah,
Bowman. Yeah,
who was like?
I was actually going to say Well, I was going to say that I thought they were really good. I didn't see any issues with I was going to say like it seems like the child actors are getting a lot better nowadays compared to some of the child actors like
from back in the day.
Like, it seemed like they're really acting and not just
being a kid.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, back in the day, like the standouts were standouts for a reason, like Macaulay Culkin and like those guys. But yeah, you're right. Another standout in this movie, I think, to me, besides the visuals, and as we've talked about, visuals go hand in hand with the score and the sound design. And I thought the sound design in this movie was awesome too. The creature sounds, like some of the build up and the suspense, and just overall enhancing the experience. And then the jump scares, like you mentioned, they were all
suspense
that stuff
was good too. Like, it was a different kind of suspense too. It was more like an anticipation of seeing like, how is this monster gonna look when it comes to life?
Yeah, it was really fun. It was like, it was a really fun, it was just a fun movie. That's really the best way to describe it.
And they did a good job of, like, for the most part, I don't think there was anything that came to life that we didn't already have an explanation for.
Yeah.
So like, that was cool too.
But yeah, so overall, I mean, audiences and critics mostly are loving the movie from what I could tell. It's got great ratings. Unfortunately, the mainstream buzz around this movie is pretty low. It doesn't have like a big box office push. There's really no viral chatter about it. And it's really unfortunate because it deserves to be talked about more. However, I wasn't the only one, or we weren't the only ones who maybe were surprised by this movie. So you started talking about it, Marvin. It turns out a bunch of like Christians were like deeply and profoundly appalled by this movie. So I looked into it a little bit. It turns out this movie, Dusty read in the article prior to this that he had trouble getting money to distribute the movie. Well, it turns out a distribution company called Angel Studios actually took on the film and distributed it. That company made a name for itself previously by promoting Christian movies.
Christian valued movies,
yes.
or Christian based movies. Yeah.
Sound of Freedom, a TV series called The Chosen. So it turns
They've
out
got some banger movies out though. They done some stuff.
I didn't see Sound of Freedom, and I don't think I ever will. But it turns out that there were some Christian parents who were like, "Oh, this is an Angel Productions movie. It must be great and family friendly. Let's turn it on and watch it." And they, I guess, didn't know what they were getting into, but it's not really that big of a deal, but it is to them. And now they're calling for the movie to be boycotted because it's demonic and all this shit.
Demonic.
Yeah, overt demonic themes, and some people are saying it's a little too adult for a PG rating. I saw a comment on Facebook that said some of the animated creatures were demonic looking. These were not shown on the movie trailers that I watched. There were moments of violence that were shockingly evil, awful for anyone, especially children. And
I'm trying to think of moments of violence.
I don't know.
There's a bus crash.
Yeah.
There were pretend monsters getting killed. I guess the one where she stabbed the kid on the paper, but that never happened in the actual movie. So, I mean, I don't know.
There was another comment I saw, quote, "One character in particular is demonic and truly terrifying. Others might be approaching whimsy if it weren't for the terror soundtrack behind them. But this one key monster is straight up demonic, absolutely creepy and deeply disturbing." So leave it to Christians to always be the fun police. But Dusty, you watched it with young kids. I'm curious, like, do you share any of these complaints or?
No, like I said, Priscilla was a little bit scared the first watch through, but nothing affected her the second time through. She loved it, and she was actually her energy watching it the second time with her friend made her friend less scared than she was the first time she saw it. So
nice.
Like, yeah, there's some scary parts for kids, like the monsters coming alive. The stories that they tell about the monsters, you don't know, like, oh, it's going to eat us, or, there's it alludes to some things that could, like, in a child's head could seem scary. So I get, like,
yeah, for sure,
why it would be scary, like for kids like 6 and under, I guess, or 7 and under. But Bo, he had no problems, and he's a couple years older, so he loved it too. But yeah,
okay. But I don't know. I think just the irony is that they go to Angel Studios Films because they think it's going to have like a wholesome family message, and the irony is that this movie is exactly that. Like, that's all.
Yeah, like, what are we talking about?
It's a very family friendly message. It's about bringing families together to deal with the trauma together as a family, and to lean on each other and to help each other. Like, you really don't get more family friendly than this movie. It's very bizarre.
No.
And yeah, I thought the messages in this movie were like very profound and really well done. And they just work for people of all ages. I'm fucking 39 years old and I enjoyed this movie, and I would probably watch it again. So that's why I think Sketch is the most surprising movie of 2025. We watched some stinkers, and this was definitely a standout.
Yeah.
And I like that it this movie is obviously through the eyes of children. It's not for adults, but it can be enjoyed by adults. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As I said, I don't have children, but I think it deals with these themes and stuff in a very accessible way and a fun way that kids could, love and enjoy. And I think, Dusty, like, if you're, one of your younger kids came to you and was like, oh, asked you like a question about death or something like that. Like, I don't know, like, going back to my conversations with Nick's wife, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with just being open and honest with a kid and being like, well, yeah, you die someday, and like, it sucks, but that's just part of life. And at least, like, yeah, of course their younger mind can't super process it the way that we can, but that's what parents are for, is for you to help them process that, not give them some sort of fantasy like, oh, well, regardless of how you feel, oh, you're going to go to heaven and everything's going to be glorious and we'll see each other again someday. I think that is more of a disservice to a child than just the reality of life. Personally.
Yeah, because you should be teaching them to enjoy life on Earth, like not saving it for whatever afterlife you believe in or whatever, right? Like,
yeah, and even taking the a religious context out of it, I think this is just it's it's just a good way that you could approach a child. Like, because her question to me is like, well, how do you explain all this to a kid? It's like through this movie. Like, it's okay to be sad that somebody died. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we try to have pretty open and honest conversations about things with our kids. If they have physiological questions or scientific questions, we'll answer the questions until they get bored of, I guess, asking questions. But I mean, there's a couple things that all parents, it wasn't my choice, but all parents lie to their kids about certain things for a long time, like the fucking tooth fairy and Santa Claus and shit like that. But we, as far as like real world things that, they have questions about, we're try to be, open and simple and communicative about it. So, yeah.
But yeah, so for all those reasons, this movie really blew me away, surprised the hell out of me. Unfortunate too, because like I said, it's not really doing that great. It's not getting a lot of notoriety. Like really nobody's talking about it. They're trying to push like an international release on it, and it's not really kind of working out. But this is a movie I really genuinely think everybody should see. It's like probably one of my favorite movies of the year so far, honestly.
Yep.
But it's struggling to gain that widespread attention that it deserves, and the market is dominated by like sequels and reboots, and like here's the thing that everybody desperately wants, like a really creative, fresh,
an original idea.
Yeah. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I'm assuming you guys too. Real brief, sum it up. What'd you think?
Yeah, I thought the dad, his role could have been written a little bit better. He was a little more dickish than I would have liked. Like, I get the dismissiveness and the drowning in your own guilt and everything, and the kind of not paying attention to your kids, but that sometimes it felt like he was overtly dickish to his kids sometimes, like unnecessarily like rude and trying to do. But other than that, I thought it was great story, well written, well acted all around, very original and creative. So I loved it.
Marvin?
Yeah, I said it earlier, but yeah, I thought I enjoyed it quite a bit, and it was good. Yeah, great watch.
Anything else you guys want to add before we give it our stamps of approval?
I mean, I don't think it's still in theaters, so I can't say go watch it, but I mean, you can stream it, so there's that.
Stream it, yeah. The predictable plot thing, I don't know if we went over that or not, but I don't think it was that predictable. I mean, there's only so much you could do with like a magic lake that
right.
fixes things and brings things to life. But I thought some of the things they did and did not do were pretty good, which is like her tentacle arm things. I actually didn't expect that. I thought that was pretty well done.
Right. Yeah.
I definitely expected them to obviously make something to counter the monsters with the lake. So I mean, obviously that was going to happen though.
I was assuming it was going to be the picture of her with the wand and her brother with the sword. Like I thought that's what they were going to bring.
The Minecraft references were funny.
The horror.
Dan appreciated those.
Yeah, the horror fan in me was like, please put the mom's ashes in the lake. I want to see some Pet Cemetery shit. Like, let's get real dark with this shit. I want zombie moms to pop out.
That was a good moment of closure for them.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought it was good. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't say it was that predictable. And so I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, you're referencing some of the criticisms I noted down that I saw. Predictability was that one, and inconsistent tone, but these are just nitpicks that stupid assholes have. Critics. I think that the whole premise, like, so the whole movie, we didn't even mention it, but the son is contemplating putting his mom's ashes in this magical lake that has already brought his sister's drawings to life. So you're thinking zombie shit.
It fixed his phone and it fixed his cut.
The plate.
And he was going to take the
broken dish.
The ashes there, yeah.
Yeah. But the movie comes full circle and it's like, well, we don't have to, like, that's just a Band-Aid. Like we shouldn't be sitting in our grief wishing the person was back. We should be celebrating what they were when they were here and what they meant to us and their memory. So really, really great message. Love this movie. One of my favorites of the year. Super surprised by it. Blew me away. It's got a 6.7 on IMDb. I've honestly, this is a 10 out of 10 for me.
Trying to think of
mic drop, baby.
Like I don't know. Everything was so well done. It was a short watch. It was fun.
You love short watches.
I love short watches.
You don't got to bump up great. To 2x speed?
No 2x. This is natural. This is all natural here.
Natty, baby.
Oh, I forgot about the little cat there. That's funny. The little cat. I didn't even think we would see that. That was funny. I would give this I would probably give this a 10 too. This was good.
Okay.
I give it an 8.
Oh. Yeah. All right. Well, 9's your perfect. So that's all right.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very good. Again, the dad.
Is there something you would change or?
Well, like I said, the dad, he could have been done a little bit better, but all the kids' roles, the way they told the story, the idea of the story itself was really well done and it's very creative. So yeah.
Nice.
Almost perfect.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys liked it. I really loved it. And folks, I hope you loved it too. If you did, if you've watched it, leave a comment down below. Let us know what you thought about it. I want to know who watched it with kids. That's what I'm really interested in. If you've watched it with some kids, let us know what they thought about it. I'd be interested to hear. I suggested to Nick to watch it. Nick's daughter, I told you, she's like really into like scary shit.
Yeah.
And she's young. She's like 6.
This is the perfect watch.
I said to him, I was like, dude, you got to watch this with your daughter. So, if you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. I think it is streaming now, so you should watch it. This is something everybody should see, and I hope it gets the word of mouth attention that I think it very genuinely deserves. So,
the rewatchability, they wouldn't say that they've been clamoring to want to watch it again. Like, Priscilla watched it twice, once with us, and then once when a friend came over. Like, kids, sometimes they'll hit that movie where they'll want to watch it 100 times. Bo's, I think right now, he's watching Spider-Man over and over and over again. But
nice.
This one didn't have that for them, but it's still a great watch for kids. I definitely recommend.
Fair. Folks, we do this once a week. If you want to be in the know and you want to watch along with us, you could check out our schedule. We posted over on our Discord. You can find a link to the Discord down in our description. This month coming up, October, we got a whole slew of horror movies on the docket, ready to go for spooky month. I'm super excited. The Make Marvin Watch episode next month is going to be a banger. I'm making him watch The Wailing, which is one of my favorite horror movies ever. So it's going to be a good month. So get subscribed if you have not done so. You'll get notifications and stuff when new videos go out. We appreciate you watching and/or listening, and we will catch you next week.
Awesome.